All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Cleaning Hustle podcast. I'm Dan Schindler, your host, with my co-host, Lexi Schindler. We're super excited to have you here today. And we have a super fabulous guest, which I'm going to let Lexi introduce.
Yes, we have Rebekkah Bostic here from Stanley Restoration. If you want to just give a little intro.
Yes, my name is Rebekkah Bostic, and I've been with Stanley Restoration for the past 6 years. We're locally owned and operated, woman-owned and operated, dealing with commercial and residential floods, fires, contents. Basically, if something happens to your house, my team can take care of it.
Nice.
Or building.
Awesome. So what do you do there?
I do business development, and so I'm also a lot of client relations. So whenever, commercial building has a flood, I'll come in and I help manage the entire project from start to finish.
Awesome.
So you're not in the sales side?
I am in the sales and then more so client relations. So
Okay.
a little bit
I
of
know
both.
when I first met you, I was like, she's got to be sales.
Yes.
Because she's
I
so
love to talk.
bubbly. Yeah. So first time I ever met you was when we acquired Acme.
Mm-hmm.
And then that relationship I know you guys did a lot of work with Acme prior to.
Yep.
And so that was my first experience with you. And I was like, man, this girl's bubbly. I like the energy. So
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
going to be an exciting podcast. Because
Yes.
when she told me you were coming on as a guest, I was like, yes. She
Love
will,
it,
She
love
will
it.
bring some energy.
Yes.
So,
That's my goal.
Very, very, very talkative.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know. When me and you first talked for the first time, I'm typically a shy person and I don't talk a lot. We sat there and talked for like an hour and a half straight, and I was like, whoa, that was shocking for me.
Yeah. I was about to say, whenever you told me that, I was like, no way you're shy. Like, we did not shut up for 2 hours.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah, for sure. So how did you get into Stanley Restoration and how did you kind of start there?
So I got in because I work with my dad, and I was out of college, had this office job, was miserable in it because, like what you just said, my personality, I'm not the sit behind a desk for 8-hour kind of person. And my dad was like, well, we have an opening here at Stanley for business development if you want to, just get your feet wet with sales. So I was like, okay, that sounds good. And then 6 years later, I've never left, and I love it to death.
So let's make clear, because there is a Stanley steamer that I think most people are probably familiar with, right?
Yes.
So we probably want to make a little bit of clarification that it is not Stanley steamer.
Yes.
So let's talk about a little bit on the background of the actual company. Maybe you said it was female owned, so maybe a little bit about the structure of the company, and then again, it's not Stanley steamer.
Yes, we are not Stanley Steamer. I've gotten so many calls from people who think that we are Stanley Steamer, who are very upset and angry. And I'm like, that's not us. That's not us. No, but so we were started in 1981 by James Stanley. That is our two ladies who are the owners now, their dad. And so then they just grew up in the industry and they decided to take it over, I believe 20 years ago. And so for us, we're a full service turnkey restoration company. We have about 80 total employees, which is a lot more than other restoration companies because we don't sub out really any work or hire temps to come in. So yeah, that's a brief
Yeah, and
step.
Stanley is actually a franchise. So when you deal with Stanley Steamer, you get a franchise person that may or may not even know what they're doing, right?
Exactly. So we're locally owned and operated, which is so awesome. And I love the non-corporate feel of things.
Yeah.
And it's, I know everybody, and I love everybody to death in the office. They're just such awesome people to work with.
So you just cover the Metroplex, or what areas, or what are kind of your geographical areas that you guys cover?
Yeah, so mainly Dallas, Fort Worth, and then anything kind of an hour outside of that.
Okay.
If the job is big enough, we'll go to, Austin, Houston. We've done the FBI building in Austin. So if the job, like I said, is big enough, not just one floor of a commercial building, we will travel outside. But we do stay just in Texas.
Right. Okay. Awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. And so I kind of want to go back. I'm going to kind of go out of order here, but you said you worked for your dad, and that's one of the things that you and I connected with on, is because we can relate to that.
Hey, don't talk bad about me.
So do you work directly under him, or what is your kind of working relationship with him?
So he is basically the manager over all the divisions. And so I don't technically work under him, but we probably talk 20 times on the phone a day, just because he's the one that will be in charge of my jobs and stuff. So constantly getting updates, reports, all that stuff. And then, just talking about all the crazy things that we see day to day.
So talk us through a little bit about what it's like working for your dad. How's that relationship between the two of you?
So most people would probably want to kill their parents if they worked with them, but I absolutely love it because me and my dad, I consider him my best friend, and it's just so awesome to be able to see him every single day, work with him every day, and it's just a really good, dynamic between us two. Because whenever, the big freeze in 2021, me and my dad, we were actually one team, and we basically were just up at 5 a.m. We didn't come home until 2, and we were just working together the entire time. And I think that just brings us closer. And like I said, he's very similar to me, never stops talking, full of energy. And it's just, I love it. I love it so much. So I wouldn't change it for anything.
So do you have siblings?
I do. I have 2 younger siblings. So my brother, he's 8 years younger than me, and then my sister's 10.
Okay. Okay. So they're not quite in the workforce yet.
Not yet. Well, my brother, he's a senior in college, so he's about to be, but I don't know if he wants to live our crazy life in restoration.
Yeah, no, I don't know that I could do restoration. That's a lot of click, I guess I'm quick on my feet, but
I was about to say, yeah, you are.
Like a house gets caught on fire and then you're there, right? Is that
Yes. Or a commercial building.
Floods, fires.
I get calls at 4:30 in the morning. Okay, here I come.
Yeah.
So do y'all do residential or just commercial?
We do residential as well. I'm primarily more focused on the commercial side, but I do a little bit of residential as well.
Yeah. I've got to tour one restoration facility about a month ago, and I have to I think the process is really cool.
Yes, you have to come to ours. It is so cool. We just built a new building, and it's incredible.
So do you do the practice runs? Because one of your competitors in town, I've been to their office, and they actually have a living room set up. And they'll literally pipe in water and flood the room.
Yes.
And then they do their training right there in their office, which I thought was really cool.
Yes. The last one we did was a couple of years ago, and I've been actually trying to get another house for us to flood. So that's in the works. So
then you just find a
invite.
house that maybe they're gonna tear down, and then you guys go in there and flood it out, and then kind of work through your processes.
Well, we'll bring on, a little shed or something, put sheetrock in there, and then fill it up, and then we can do the trials and practices from there.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Or I think it's cool.
Mold. Yeah.
I'm I think it's so cool. I'm also so empathetic though that I'm oh, those poor people.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's the hard part about the job, especially on the residential side with fires. Just because, you don't know everything that happened until you get there, and, pet aspect. And it's just, that part of the job is hard.
Yeah.
So
what is the level that you actually a house is completely burned? Is there a level where you guys are this is beyond what we do? It's too far gone?
Yeah.
So is that part of your job to go out and look at a house and say, okay, yeah, we can restore this one, or no, this one's too far gone?
We usually, for the residential side, will pair up with the adjuster, and they will deem it total loss or not. And so then that means if it's a total loss, they're just going to pay them coverage limits, and there you go. Go from there.
So have you ever been in a situation where the adjuster was you guys can fix this, and you're this is not something that, it's kind of beyond repair?
There's been, I would say a few, but that doesn't really happen too often because they're also, they want to sometimes save money. It kind of depends on who you get. Right. I'll be honest.
Right.
But yeah, the hardest part about that is if it's, the contents portion of the job and the homeowner wants to save something. I had one job where she had all these old vintage board games, and they were all, made out of, what's the material? Why am I forgetting the word?
Cardboard?
Yes, cardboard. And they were burnt pretty bad, a bunch of smoke damage. And, we told her we'll clean them the best way we can, but no way we can get it back to pre-loss condition. She was happy with the end result. So we'll, work with people on items like that, just because if it matters to them, we don't want to just say, oh, whatever, we're just going to throw it away.
Right.
So that's probably one of the harder things. So.
Yeah, family heirlooms and things like that, I'm sure, are a big challenge.
Yes. And, pieces of furniture, things like that. It's sad to see because, they're probably crying and you're going to do your best to fix it, but a lot of times you can't.
Yeah.
So we do our best.
That's sad.
Yeah, well, our whole preface of starting this podcast is to help young entrepreneurs come into the business world, learn some things, get some advice, hear other people's stories. And, Restoration is kind of a very traditional company. It's been around forever. And, you made us agree. A lot of people say that it's kind of stayed relatively the same over the years. And so what's been the biggest challenge of being someone young coming into a business that's been around forever?
I would say people don't take you serious. And I also haven't aged since I was like 16. So people definitely think that I'm like way younger than I am. And then the other challenge with being young in this industry is also being a female in this industry, just because it is definitely a male dominated field, which again, I knew that going into it. But being young, it's more so just people don't think that you know what you're doing. And it's challenging trying to tell them, hey, I know this is the process, this is what needs to happen. And usually there's a lot of arguing back and forth. So not all the time, it's getting better, but yeah, I would say that's probably the biggest challenge.
And
Go ahead.
how often do you feel like people are underestimating you in this line of work?
I would say in the first year, oh my gosh, it would happen like 3 times a day. And then, now since I've been around in BOMA, IFMA, a lot of people in the industry, know who I am. And so I think that kind of gives me a level up. So it hasn't happened as often, but I will say with certain, if a commercial building floods, there's certain tenants that just see me, they don't know me, and they may just be, I know that they're stressed out, but they might be quick to say or make a comment that I'm like, oh, okay, well, we'll send the old manager over there, my dad, to go talk to him.
You definitely bring the big guns in.
I'm sure the longer you're in the industry, like you said, you're establishing relationships, like with the adjusters and different ones that you probably deal with on a consistent basis. They probably don't even give you a hard time anymore, I would imagine.
Yes, exactly. So that's what's nice about it. Because again, 6 years, same company, same role. Thank goodness it's gotten easier on that part because they know, okay, we've worked with her multiple times. She knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
Talk about some of your challenges.
Oh, well, I
Because she's a little over a year in this, so
I am a little over.
she's kind of in that early stage that I'm sure you can probably relate to.
I don't know. I feel like you and I relate on a lot of things. I mean, every single time you talk, I'm like, I feel like she is me in like another form. And so like here, I don't feel like I really have like an age issue. Like people make a lot of comments of like, oh, wow, I'm surprised you know that for your age. Or like, oh, wow, you're really smart for your age and things like that. And I'm just like, that happens every once in a while, but I think more of the problem I have here is working under my dad and people being like, oh, you're only here because you're dad, or you only got this opportunity because you're dad, or, things like that. I feel like that's more of the issues that I deal with. I don't know if you deal with that on your side of things, but I do relate in the working in a male field because, I'm also an EMT in medic school on the side. The fire station I'm currently working at has never had a female work for them ever since they started. And so I'm always the only girl there. And it's really weird because they have like women's locker rooms and things like that.
I bet it's very clean in there. It's never been used.
But I mean, I definitely understand that because especially once you get into medic, it's like a 90 to like 8% difference in men versus women in the field. And so it's very like you go there and it's like definitely like, oh yeah, I am the only woman here.
yes, and that feeling, it's always a little intimidating, I would say, because again, then it goes back on being young in this industry and the level of respect, especially the older ones that have been doing it for years and years and years. Oh, those ones are always hard to get on your side at first.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure. So on the dad side of things, do you feel like you're having those issues? Do people think that you're there only because of him? Or tell us a little bit about that.
So I try not to tell people that he is my dad whenever. No, I'm not because I'm like, oh, too. No, because I'm like, I don't want people to immediately assume that because that is exactly what I went through whenever I first started. And people are so quick to judge and be like, oh, yeah, of course, you're only here because of your dad. Oh, you only have this position. Oh, you only got this contract. the list goes on. But I will say it definitely gets better the longer that you are in the industry. And like I said, I've just kind of learned to I don't say anything. And then most of the time people do pick up on it. And then like I had one engineer, I'd known him for like 3 years. And then finally he's like, are you two like related? Is that your dad? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, you kept that from me this whole time? I was like, well, yeah, I didn't, again, want you to think of me any different. So yeah, but I would say that's another big challenge, working with family. And that, again, level of respect, people are like, oh, you're only here because of that. And then that goes down. And it's like, no, I don't think so. So
I definitely deal with that because, I run my own marketing team here, and I actually never tell them. I let them figure it out on their own. Typically, though, as soon as they hear the last name, they're like,
yes.
But then I also have the habit, because I don't call him Dan or anything. I'm like my dad. And so I'll be in the office and I'll be like, Dad. And then I'm like, oh, I just said that in front of him. But like, that's on me. On my side is like, I don't want my employees to lose respect for me or think like, oh, I can just say whatever because she's only over me because her dad owns this company or things like that. So yeah, I told him the other day or a while back, I said, I love you and I love our family, but I am so ready to change my last name so that people don't automatically know I'm your daughter.
No offense.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I got in the habit of calling my dad Johnny at work, and I'm like, this is so weird. It took a little bit to get used to that, and now I call him Johnny all the time, and it makes my mom so mad. She's like,
like
don't
even
say
when you're
that.
like at home and stuff.
Yes. Like around Christmas, I'm like, Johnny, where's this? And she's like, what are you doing?
That's pretty funny. I'm not going to let her call me by my name, even though it is only one letter difference.
I call him Dad to his face, but to other people, I'll try to say Dan. Like if I'm talking to like employees in the office, but they always say, "Oh, your dad." Like I'll be on meetings and they're like, "Your dad said this." And there's one girl that works here who has been trying to change it because she knows I like hate that. And so she'll be like, "Your dad." Oh wait, Dan. I mean Dan. And I think it's so funny because it's not that I don't love you. It's just that I want to be my own person in the business world.
Well, you don't want people thinking, again, differently of you. Like you want to earn that spot, and you're an incredibly hard worker as well. And it's sad whenever people just assume those kinds of things. So I get it.
I like when she has those conversations with me, I understand it. Like when I was younger, my dad was a preacher, and I grew up, I was Frank's son. I don't think half the people knew my name. And so I finally, when I was 16, I told my dad, I said, I love you, but I'm going to go find my own church because I need to be Dan. I'm tired of being Frank's son. And so when she came to me one time and she said, hey, no offense, but when I introduce the new employees, I'm not going to introduce you as my dad. I'm going to let them figure it out on their own. And I was like, yeah, cool. I totally understand that. I understand trying to get your own identity, Right. And if you're always somebody's, you don't really have your own identity if you're always somebody's kid,
Exactly. And they always hold that over your head.
Yeah.
It's funny because I don't even tell them that Matthew is my fiance either. I just had 2 new employees come in. They've been here for about 2 weeks now. It took them a week and a half to even learn that he was my fiance. And they only learned it because he said something in one of our meetings that was like, yeah, at our house last night, and was like talking towards me. And they were like, in that moment, I realized that like y'all are together. But I still to this day don't think they have found out that he's my dad. And it's been like 2 weeks. Funny. Typically, I only make it a couple of days before they find out, but these 2, it's been like 2 weeks.
Well, then you're learning.
Yeah, you're getting better at it.
I love it. Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's too funny.
No, yeah, but I understand. See, you and I just relate on so many levels. I'm like, we're the same person in different industries.
Oh, literally. And I love it. That's why I'm so happy that I found you. I was like, perfect. Somebody else who can relate to all my problems.
And she introduced me to a fantastic restaurant that I love now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Where's this at?
The Henry.
Oh, yeah.
So good. The rigatoni.
I got a funny story about the Henry.
Oh, no.
So this apartment complex right here behind us, we used to live there. And so my wife got the bright idea, like, hey, the Henry's not that far. Let's just walk there.
Oh, that's kind of a trek.
It's a lot further than you think when you're walking there.
Yes.
It's like, after we got done eating, I said, we are Ubering back. I'm not doing that walk again.
Burn some calories before the meal.
Yeah,
there you go. One positive way to look at it.
Yeah. My brain is all over the place now. That's funny. I've walked from the American Airlines Center to that apartment when we lived here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a long walk, too.
Yeah.
That sounds, if the apartment's right there, that is a long walk.
Yeah. It's actually the one behind us, right?
Yeah, it was the one behind us, so it was actually a little bit further. And we went to a concert there, and we were like, we'll just walk home. I don't know why. We've done that on multiple occasions, actually. So
You just have this feeling that since you're downtown Dallas, that you're like, it's not that far.
Dallas
but then,
is not a walkable city.
you know, like a block is a half a mile.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So
Perfect. Yeah. Well, we'll shift gears back into the work. So where would you say that you see the biggest opportunity for innovation in restoration?
I would definitely say innovation-wise, probably the process of communicating with the customers, as in sending, if they're, sending updates. We have systems in place, but I just think that they could do better. I do know the equipment has definitely come a long way, because I know back, in the 80s, they would just show up, there was no rules, and they're like, oh, we'll just rip out everything and charge them whatever we want to. So I definitely think that they've come a long way, even in the past, I would say, 10 or 20 years, just with the materials. But I don't know, maybe some dehues and blowers that aren't as loud as they are. Maybe that would be a good innovation. I don't know how they would do that, but I just know I have so many homeowners, tenants who will unplug equipment, and then I have to explain to, whoever hired me why we have an extra 2 days of dry time.
Right.
So I'm like, maybe if we could make those quieter, that would be better.
yeah, that's a good point, because them things are noisy as heck.
They are. They're annoying.
I guess
I
it's
get
just
it.
because they're moving so much air. They have to, but they are noisy.
So I would say if somebody can come up with a way to do that, we'll be really rocking and rolling.
So it sounds like you need to get a patent.
Yeah.
Patent? Is that
You
how
design
say
it and patent it.
Yeah, you need
Nobody take that idea.
You need to patent it and put it out there, and then you'll be a millionaire by 30.
Perfect. Let's go to Hawaii.
There you go.
Says the one that just came
know.
back from Hawaii.
Is that where you were?
Yes, I was, but I want to go back already. So let's go.
Which island were you on?
Waikiki. So it was like by Honolulu.
Okay.
So it was so fun. So,
Yeah.
We've only been to Kona, so.
Yeah. And we struggled with jet lag so bad.
oh, I'm struggling right now because we got back at 4:30 a.m. Tuesday morning, and it's Thursday, but I still have not caught up on any sleep.
I think when we went to Hawaii, I didn't even realize like where it was. In my mind, it was like straight south of California. So I was like, and then I didn't realize there was a 5-hour time difference. So we're all like at 3 a.m. like, are you up? And we're like, yeah, we're up, wide awake.
Yeah,
you know?
we were there for a week, and every single morning we were up at 3 or 4 and just started our day at 3 or 4 in the morning.
Oh yeah, I was out hiking at like 5:30 a.m. and I was like, "Who am I? Like, this is crazy." But I was the same way, looking at like the map on the, like the airline thing where it shows you where you're going. I was like, "Wait, this is where Hawaii is?" I know it sounds so stupid, but I was like, I had no idea that this is where we're going.
Yeah, I know, me too. And I guess I just never paid attention till we were actually going there, and I was like, "Whoa, this is not where I thought it was."
So for the viewers, if y'all want to be more productive, just move to Hawaii, and then for the first like month or so, you'll be extremely
Yeah, you'll be up at 4 a.m.
Watch the sunrise. It's great.
So at Stanley, are you guys big into social media?
Yes, we actually have somebody that does all of our social media, and she also works with her mom and dad. She is the owner's daughter, and so she handles all of our social media, which that started about 2 years ago, I would say. We had a presence on there before, but it was just kind of, okay, whatever, whoever had time to create a post, do it. And so then she does marketing and the social media. So that has definitely helped a lot, I would say.
Yeah. Do you feel like being young in business kind of gives you an edge when it comes to, like social media, culture, things like that?
Oh, 1000%. Because I mean, I know like my dad doesn't even like have a LinkedIn or know how to log into a LinkedIn. So I think, things like that, it's, we grew up on social media. And so for us, I think that it's a little bit easier because we already know how to navigate everything. And I think it's just a really good tool to have in business development because, LinkedIn is just, it's great. So yeah.
What kind of things do you guys post on there?
we'll post reviews, pictures of jobs, if anything good happens in the company. Like I just got elected for my second year as secretary for the IFMA board. And so like they'll post things like that. So if there's any, big things that have happened to any of our people, they'll post about it.
Oh, that's really nice. I like that. I don't even know what IFMA is, if I'm being honest with you.
It's just like BOMA.
Mm-hmm.
It's another organization like BOMA.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like you'll see one or the other kind of favored. But in your industry, I think that IFMA is probably a really good connection, right?
Yeah, both of them are. So I'm super involved in both of them. More so, I would say IFMA, just because being on the board does take more time.
Yeah.
But I love both of them because it's just, networking groups, easy way to connect and meet really good people.
Yeah.
That's
I actually remember the first time I ever saw you, we obviously didn't talk, was at the BOMA dart tournament when you were on stage making the brackets.
Oh yeah. I was on the networking committee and I was in charge of doing that big bracket every year that I was on there. And it was very challenging, but we made it through every year. So, so if you saw me then for the first time, I'm sorry, I was very stressed out.
So do you still do anything committee-wise or anything up for BOMA, or are you just a part of it now?
I'm just a part of BOMA now. So being on the board for IFMA, like I said, takes up a lot of time. And so my primary focus is serving on the board there. And then I still go to the BOMA events and stuff. So
we're actually doing the bowling tournament for BOMA.
Oh, that one's one of my favorites. It's so fun.
If you didn't know, this family's kind of avid bowlers. We all have our own bags. We have custom balls fitted to our hands. We have shoes.
You're lying.
We have everything. So we're very excited.
We're going to see if we can bring it this time.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I cannot wait to see this.
We got last place in the dart tournament, so the bowling tournament's our redemption.
And we even did for this dart tournament, we even did like internal office competition to pick the team because I was like, we can't be out first round because that was the second year in a row. So I was like, all right, we set up dartboards in the office. We had a competition. I had in my head who I thought were the good players that didn't actually pan out. So then we assigned the team and we still got there and still got knocked out first round. I was like, man, what's it going to take?
In our defense, though, the people that were playing for these other companies were like professional dart players that played on like teams.
And they've probably been doing BOMA for like 10 years of darts too, probably.
Oh yeah, there's some there that are so insanely good. I'm like, do you play in a professional league on the side? Yeah. Same with, like sporting clays. I'm going, okay, I'm good at doing these things, but not that level.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Did you guys, were you guys at the BOMA trade show this year?
No, we were not. So we normally go, but I got the dates mixed up because it's normally in October. And by the time, maybe I should have read my emails, but by the time I realized it was like not even a week, or it was less than a week before. And I'm like, well, okay, guess we're not going to this.
I think that threw everybody off. They literally had a whole entire row that was empty.
Yeah.
I think it just kind of, I don't know if that's a new thing. They're going to shift it to the early, but we were the same way. We were like, why are we having this so early? It's like everybody's used to the September, October timeline.
It was like 50% less attendance, I would say.
Oh, really?
It was very empty.
Oh. Yeah. See, I had no idea. But like I said, because I didn't know the date that it even was. So
yeah. But we always like to, at kind of like the end of our podcast, we like to do some advice and some things for everyone watching out there. So what advice would you give other young people coming into the business world, whether it's restoration or another business? What advice would you give them?
I would say confidence is key, and definitely learn from the people who have been working at whatever company that you're at. Definitely lean on them because, they know industry secrets. They know, there are just certain unspoken rules in the marketing world that people need to follow. And let's see what else. Definitely, though, the confidence thing, because people can see if you walk in and if you're nervous, they know. And another key tip would be, if you're new and if you don't know the answer to whatever they're asking, you can totally say, hey, I'm not sure on that. Let me get back to you. And I feel like that young people or people who are new in the industry make that mistake where then they get themselves in a bind because they say something that they don't really know if it's true or not. And because they're just nervous. Well, if I say, oh, let me get back to you, these people aren't going to respect me, which it's like they will respect you more if you don't give them a wrong answer.
Right.
So
yeah, and then you create a new fire for your company because you've promised something that can't be delivered or it's wrong information, and it just creates another problem.
Exactly.
And then you end up losing the customer anyway because the customer's frustrated, like, no, you told me this. No, it's actually this. So sorry about that, So it's definitely better to just say, hey, I'm new.
Yes.
Give me a minute and I'll get the correct answer for you.
Exactly. So I would say those would be my top advice. And like I said, definitely lean on the people who have been either in your position working for the same company for years, or again, just have those mentors.
Yeah.
So.
For sure. And I'm adding a question in there, and I usually don't ask this question, but I've come to realize over the last couple of weeks how many people in this world have absolutely no idea how to interview. And so what if you had to give someone, one or two pieces of advice if they're going to interview for their first, I guess you could say, like, big person, like adult job, what would that be?
Let's see. I would say come prepared. And again, going back on the confidence thing. And by come prepared, again, research the company, look up questions. I mean, AI is insane. So literally just type in what questions would they ask during an interview. Don't go in there just blank. I mean, because I've interviewed people and I'm like, okay, do you know what we do here? So definitely.
And don't bring your kid with you.
I actually, funny story, yesterday, I invited someone to come here for an interview. And she responded and was like, yeah, I'm available this day. And I said, sweet, I'll send you a calendar invite. I send her the calendar invite. She messages me back and goes, can I get more information? And so I respond back and I'm like, yeah, what kind of information are you looking for? Because that's broad. And she goes, I don't know what I applied for, what this job is, what the company is. I don't know anything. And I was like,
oh my God.
She even told me, I don't even know what the job title is. And I was like, did you not read the job before you applied to it?
Oh my gosh. Did
What
you
is-
just send out?
Say I did not end up inviting her for an interview.
And that's another good tip. Again, don't just send the same exact resume to, 30 different companies. Focus your resume more towards what they do and what that job requires. Because so many people just copy paste. Okay, like this girl clearly just sent it off to probably just a list on LinkedIn. Apply.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the funny thing about it is that everyone, when I told them about it, they were like, maybe she just applied and forgot which job this is. And I was like, but the system that we use, when we message them, it messages them through the job posting. So they have to go through the job posting before they can even reply back to me. And so I'm like, she knew our company, the job, and everything.
So she could have just went back to the posting and looked at it.
Yeah.
I'm always an advocate of if I had to start over today, like business went under, I'm going to go find a job. I would literally research the companies that I want to work for, and then I would just go after that job. Like I would be the guy for that job. And I do that same thing in the janitorial space when I'm looking for a new customer. I go see a customer and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get that customer, even if it takes me 2 years. I'm going to get that customer. And I think that part of it is what we're missing with the younger generation, is that they're just blanketly like splattering paint on the wall, trying to apply for jobs everywhere and then taking whatever they get. And then they don't know if they culturally align with that company. They don't know if they're going to even enjoy working there. And then that creates a situation where there's no loyalty whatsoever. They're going to take the next job down the road or whatever. And so I think that's one of the things I know Lexi looks for when we're interviewing is this person a fit for us culturally? And so, we always say hire for culture, train for skill. And so if you hire for culture, then you know that they fit in the business at the culture level. And then you just hopefully they have enough skill set that you can train them to that position. So I always think interviews should be bent towards that side of it. Are they a good fit? And then if they are, we can figure out how to get them trained to do their job.
I completely agree with you on that, because that's why I feel like in the younger generation, that's why turnover is so bad, because again, they just go apply. for whatever job that they can get. And then also another key thing on that is you have to be passionate about what you're doing. You don't have to I don't absolutely love restoration, but I love my people and my contacts that I've made, that were clients turned into friends. And that's what I'm passionate about because I care about them. And so I feel like that's another key component in the younger generation. They're just so quick to, okay, perfect. They hired me. Let me work here for 3 months. Oh, I hate this place. Goodbye.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I know I've heard some of them talk. It's like when they go to do a job search, it's literally like, all right, what does it pay?
Yeah.
And it's so much focused on the pay. Mm-hmm. I've taken some very low-level entry jobs and gotten in there and proven myself. And then all of a sudden, I'm telling them what I need to get paid to stay.
Yeah.
And if you're going in focused on just strictly what am I going to get paid and I don't have the hustle or the work ethic to get where I want to go inside that company, then that's why you get turnover because it's all about the dollar. You get some other company that's going to give you a 25% raise and they're like, I'm out of here. I got a raise,
Yes.
Whereas I just think the idea of the way people are looking for jobs is wrong.
Yeah, because people are so money hungry. And then another thing is they want to be remote. So they want to make, $500,000 and then work from home.
Yeah, and work 20 hours a week.
Right.
I could have an entire 3-hour podcast on the fact that how much it grinds my gears with this whole remote thing. It just grinds my gears. Like
that you can't be remote or what?
No, other people's opinions on being remote. I always mess with you. Oh, I wish I was remote. I would hate, and I mean hate, being home every day, doing absolutely nothing. And I agree with it because I know people that work from home who work here. Oh, let me go play a video game. Oh, okay, now I'm going to go back to work. Oh, now I need to go walk my dog. Oh, now I'm back to work. You know what I mean? It's the thing that changed me was, I won't say said friend's name, but he had a remote job, and I went over to his house, and then I was like, you have 2 completely different computers set up, and he goes, yeah, I have 2 remote jobs, and I'm like, okay, so this company thinks you're working 8 hours, and this company thinks you're working 8 hours, and he's like, yeah, and I'm like, okay, now what is that right there? And I pointed at his mouse, and it was on this little pad, and the mouse was sitting there moving like this. And I'm like, okay, what is that? He goes, well, that's when I want to go walk the dog. I just do that, and then it tells the computer system that I'm still there. So, if they're doing a Zoom, I know I don't have to be that involved in. I'll just put it on there and turn it on, and then I can go walk my dog, go to the grocery store, come back. And I'm like, after that, I was like, I'm out. No remote workers.
Crazy. Yeah. Well, because again, you don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
If he has this mouse pad that's moving it himself or by itself.
Yeah.
And he's working 2 jobs, 8 hours each day on both. Yeah, that's not possible.
No. And I heard another guy that would put the mouse on top of a speaker and then crank the music up so the mouse would bounce on the speaker.
My God.
Well, there's all these little remote tricks, and as an owner of a company, I'm just like, no, I'm out on all that.
Use that creativity for something good that benefits your job.
Yeah, exactly. Bring value to the company you work for.
I also just like being around people though. I would get so bored by myself.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
Same.
I need to yap.
Yeah.
Same. I talk too much to be by myself all day, every day. I'd go crazy, I think.
Yeah, there's no way. There's no way.
No.
So, well, anything else?
I don't think so.
We really enjoyed having you on here. And
yes, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
This was so fun.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. So everybody, thank you so much for joining us here on the Cleaning Hustle podcast.
Well, before we pop off.
I was right in the middle of my...
You didn't even let her give her contact information if someone wants to contact her.
Well, we'll put it in we'll put that in the description. How's that?
Okay.
Perfect.
Right, we're going to try that again then. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching our Cleaning Hustle podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we hope you learned a little bit of something. Do tune in next time, like and subscribe our channel. And again, we certainly appreciate it.